want to go over a few of the different things that Connie actually went over this morning, if you were in there, so that you know what each one of these does. Plus, we have an extra one for this particular course. And you'll notice Angela, you should be able to see her video up there. She's going to sign this course. And that's going to be part of the recording also. So anybody that watches this recording will see it in sign language as well. Let's talk about the individual windows. The chat window is a really important one. And you can actually remove it. It should automatically be over on the right, but if it's not, you can drag it off and move it over to the right-hand side. All of the windows can be resized. I resize mine really long so I can look back at past conversations in case there's anybody that's asked a question in the chat and I need to flag that down. So that's a very, very important thing, and everybody can see that, whether I type in the chat or you do, no matter who does. So that's a very, very important thing. The other thing is the participant list. The participant list lists everybody that's currently in the room, and I don't see anybody coming in as a teleconference because we saw that by default the microphone was on that, so it looks like everybody is good coming in that way. Because this entire course will be signed, we're going to have Angela use just the video camera. Even though somebody else may click on and click off, especially as I go through the session plan, if she gets a smaller video, like I'm on there right now actually, so if she's a smaller video, you can always make her bigger just by double-clicking on her. I'm going to turn my video off so it stops showing mine. But you should be able to do that. If there are any questions, is everybody okay so far with that? They have their video nice and big. You can see Angela up there signing. Okay, I'm going to show you how you can tell me. Let's talk about the little buttons. Down under in the participant list, you'll see your name, and then you'll see 4 little buttons underneath that. The first one is a little smiley face. These are all emoticons, and you can pick any one of those too, and it'll pop up right next to your name and show for a few minutes. The one next to it is the step away from the session. So if you have to step away for a reason, especially when you go into a session early, if you click on that, it'll just put a little I'm away until when you click on it again when you come back, and it'll tell you you're there. If you have a question at any time, you can type it in the chat, or you can click on the third button, which is the little raised hand, and it'll pop up, and either Marie or I will ask and see what you want. The fourth button is a polling button, and right now it's a little check mark. And you can either select a green check for yes or a red X for no. But that can be changed to A, B, C, D, depending on what the presenter wants to ask. But let's just make sure everybody understands what that is. And I'm going to ask you again, does everybody see Angela's video really big? If you do, would you go up there and just put a little green check next to your name like that so I can get an idea? Katie? Donna? David? Christy? Becky, are you okay? Can you see her video big? David, can you see her video big? Katie, you cannot. Up in the audio video window, you'll see a little closed captioning, a little telephone, another little button, which allows you to start the audio test wizard. But next to that, it looks like several lines with a drop-down menu. You need to make sure that Make Video Follow Speaker is not checked. It's the third one from the bottom. Katie, can you do that and give me a green check if her picture is big on yours? Okay, let me look over. Okay. Try double clicking on the small video and see if that doesn't move it large. Becky, you don't see her at all. You don't see any video. Okay, good. Yes? Becky? You can actually, thank you, Donda. You can pull down the screen and actually detach that and drag it off to make it bigger. The same way that you pull the chat box away, you can pull this away so that that actually becomes bigger. Good. All right. Yay, yay, yay. It looks like everybody, Katie, can you put a green check if you're good? You said you were good in the chat. I'm good, yes, okay. All right, everybody should be able to see Angela now. Yay, yay, yay. All right, that's something new, and it's going to be just for this particular session that I'm aware of right now, and we may be doing that through other ones. But that one will definitely be there. And also what we have is you have the little controls for the whiteboard that you'll see to the left of the whiteboard, and it allows you to draw on it, but please don't do that while the presenter is presenting unless they ask you to do something on the whiteboard or on their slide. But if we're good with that, I'm going to go to the next step. And I would like to welcome Marie. And she's going to present for us about teaching and learning in a virtual world. And you're going to love it because she has a beautiful accent. Marie?
Thank you, Barbara. That's a lovely introduction. Thank you all for coming, for attending this session. As Barbara said, I'm gonna be talking about teaching and learning in a virtual world, which is basically what I do 99% of the time. I only teach very little face-to-face now. Despite my accent, I don't teach languages anymore. I teach education. I teach an MA in education in virtual worlds, and this is what I will be talking about. You have my details there. My name is Carmen Ortega. I work for the University of the West of England in Bristol, the UK. And my name in the virtual world Second Life is Micah Giordano. So this is the name I use to teach most of the time. And this is what I'm going to be introducing you to, what we do, how we do it, and in particular the virtual world that we use at the University of the West of England. And this is basically what I'll be talking about, PMA education in virtual worlds, this particular program that we run from here. And I wanted to start with this quote: creative work is not a selfish act or a bid for attention on the part of the actor. It's a gift to the world and every being in it. Don't cheat us of your contribution. Give us what you've got. I wanted to start with it, first of all, because it's a very positive, way of starting a talk. I quite like this quote, but also because I think it's got some of the keywords and themes of this quote fits very well what I do in a virtual world and how I teach in a virtual world. And one of it's obviously creative work. It is a place for creation, no doubt about it. And the students we've got, they end up creating amazing pieces of work, and I think it opens everybody's imagination when you visit these places and you start seeing what other people do in every field, but in particular in the field of education, how people are using these worlds and these virtual worlds and gaming environment for teaching and learning. I also like the word actor because there's a lot of acting on it most of the time. I teach through an avatar. My students come to my sessions through avatars. So there is a little bit of, we can have different identities, we can change, but the same way as you change your clothes, you can change your avatar in the virtual world to adopt different identities. So it's almost like a stage where you can try out everything in this stage, and you can really role play your things. And we will see later on how role play becomes one of the main things that we do in this MA, because it's very interesting for teaching, it's very interesting for learning, using role plays and simulations. I think when the Stephen Pressfield's book, The World of Art, which is the one I'm taking this quote from, I think he talks a lot about our internal barriers that stop us from doing our best work. And I think in this case, I'm going to talk a little bit about external barriers, because sometimes I think we are in education slightly limited by the way we've understood education all these years traditionally. Yeah? We understand that education as students normally sitting down, a tutor normally having the power and the control of what goes on in the session. However, in this world, everything is totally different, so it's good to actually break this sort of boundaries and these barriers that we've got on how education should be, and start opening up to new ways of education. I think this conference is another example of how, you know, things can happen in a completely different way and hopefully be successful. I really like to be here and to be able to take part from miles away from where you are. It's actually almost, it's 5:40 for me, my time, and I know you are, it's your morning still, so this is quite magical in a way, and this is what we do with my students. We've got the students, we will see in a minute. We've got the students all over the world, and I will show you where from. But I want to show you first of all the physical location where we are, the Education Innovation Centre and the University of the West of England, from where we run this course. Is in Bristol, the UK, and you can see there are a few pictures that I took from this city, and you can see at the first sight there is a lot of there is a mixture between modernity and traditional spaces. You can see on the left-hand side corner at the bottom the cathedral, which is a very traditional. It's from the 12th century, so there isn't anything more traditional than that. Our students come to graduation. The graduation happens there. You can see the port, the harbor above the cathedral, the Millennium Ball. You can see some of the art. We have Banksy. Some of you would know the street artist who comes from Bristol. It's a very colorful place, as you can see in the other image, and we also have a balloon festival. And I wanted to show you this because I'm going to talk a little bit also about the architecture of the virtual world that has been designed for us. And this is the virtual world, and you might recognize some of the characteristics from the previous pictures, because we also have a harbor, a port, and it's quite important for us to have this port, and I would talk later on about it. We also have some traditional spaces. You can see the classroom where the classroom on the right-hand side corner, on the top one, is quite traditional with the candles, sort of erudite with all the books and the bookshelves, but we also have other more less traditional spaces. You can see that we also have our own balloon festival, and we have a little balloon that you can, if you ever come and visit us, and you're all very welcome. This is open for all of you to see if you come into Second Life. I'm not sure, I haven't actually talked about Second Life, and I'm not sure if you are all familiar with this virtual environment, but it's a place, obviously it's three-dimensional. You interact with the world and with other with other people through your avatar, and basically it's a place where we meet and we have sessions and we can have discussions together and we can do a lot of things together. And I will give you a lot of examples of what we do in the virtual world, but that's basically what it is. I was assuming that maybe you all know, but this is one of the virtual worlds that exist. There are many others. This is the one where we have a presence in other virtual worlds, but this is the one where we run our sessions for the MA education in virtual worlds. And you can see some of the sessions run in classrooms and some others sitting on the beach or sitting on cushions in a bit more informal way. Our sessions, unlike face-to-face sessions, don't run with all the students sitting down and the tutor being in control. It's very different the way we do things in a much more collaborative way. Nobody's the boss, nobody has the control over what happens. There is obviously a facilitator because there has to be somebody who facilitates the session, but then everything happens in a very collaborative way. Students help each other to create things. We travel a lot together, and as I said, I will talk quite a bit about what we do in this MA. As I said, an MA, a postgraduate course in education. And this is where our students are based. The majority are obviously in the UK and Europe. We have a few in Germany, in Greece. We have people in Saudi Arabia. In the States, we have quite a few students as well, and Canada, Argentina, New Zealand, and Japan. So as you can see, from all over the world, this is very enriching for us, for all the students, to being able to interact, because we interact for each of the modules. We get together in the virtual space for 3 hours a week, and we all discuss things together and we get together. So it's very enriching being able to share your experiences with students from completely different backgrounds, different experiences. Most of our students, I have to say, are educators. This is an MA in education, and what the MA does is basically help people to see and to use virtual worlds and gaming environments as places where to teach and where to learn. So the majority of the students are educators. We have some students that are developers as well. They develop learning experiences in these environments. We have a few therapists as well. And this is where they come from all over the world, and they teach different disciplines at different levels. We have some of our students teach at university level, and some others teach children. So different levels and different disciplines. We have people teaching languages, people teaching all sorts of different things, maths, chemistry, so different disciplines as well. And these are some of them actually having on the beach. So this is the way we interact through our avatars, and these are people avatars. And the way we interact, we can use, the interactions are multiple, and they happen like well, some people can talk, we have a microphone and we talk, or we use the text and we can communicate in a chat room, all of us in a group, or we can decide to send IMs, to send people personal private messages. So there are different ways to interact in this virtual world, and we use all of them, and the interactions are very rich. And there are other technologies that we use to support the MA in virtual worlds, in education in virtual worlds. Not only we work in the virtual world synchronously, but we have obviously an asynchronous way of communicating, which is in this university we use Blackboard. Maybe some of you are used to this virtual environment as well. That's where we have all the materials, all the administration of the program, where students find everything they need to read. They have also discussion boards, so if something doesn't get discussed or the discussion doesn't finish in the virtual world, they bring it into this virtual environment and keep on discussing things. They post links, things that they think might be interesting for other students. We use it in many different ways. They have a portfolio, they have a journal going on. So as I said, interaction happens because I think one of the problems for distance learners, especially, you see, if you take into account we have people in New Zealand or in Japan or really far away, Argentina, they might feel isolated. In this MA, they don't at all. It's a constant communication, almost 24/7, to be honest. There's always somebody there for you. The tutors are very, and one of the tutors I'm very involved. All the tutors are very involved, and the other students as well. So they never feel they never feel isolation. And actually, the dropout rate is very, very low in this MA. They want to carry on. They want to do it. So it's really good. We also use, for the technologies I've got there, we obviously use Skype as well sometimes if we want to communicate that way. We also use the whiteboard, and we can use the whiteboard from the virtual world. So sometimes we're all sitting together discussing things, and we have in front of us the whiteboard, and we can brainstorm together. So from the virtual world, we have the screen where we can brainstorm together using, in this particular case, this one called Twiddle, but any whiteboard. And we also have a software that is basically a screen capture. I use Camtasia just to record what goes on the screen, basically. If I want to show my students how to go shopping, how to do this or that in the virtual world, I can show them. They can show me. They also record their little machinimas or their little videos to show me their work. I'm gonna talk. I said I would talk a little bit about the architecture of. We have designed the island, and I'm gonna talk about the designing principles, the architecture, and what is behind the architecture. And obviously, I'm hoping that after this session, you would come and visit us in the virtual world, so I can give you a tour, because it's not the same in pictures. You actually have to be there and experience it and walk around it, and even fly around it, because you can fly in the virtual world. You can do many things that you cannot do in the physical world. I find the physical world much more limiting, and now I find teaching face-to-face much more limiting than in the virtual world. And you will see, hopefully you will be able to see why by the time I finish. But if not, you're very, very welcome to come over and I show you our scene. But anyway, the designing principles that we follow is designing to facilitate immersion. Well, you can read them. I'm not going to read them out loud, but I'm going to go through them one by one so that you know what I mean. So first of all, we design with the idea of facilitating immersion. And this is quite important. I think to have a better learning experience, it is interesting to have this perception of being physically present in a non-physical world, and it's obviously how this spatial immersion occurs when the student or the person using this environment feels that the simulated world is perceptually convincing. And I know I use a quite funny picture because in a way it's like we are in a classroom, but in the middle of the ocean we can see the sharks moving around and the fish, which doesn't seem very realistic. But the idea is that they do have a lot of visual cues. For example, you can see they have chairs where they can sit. So even if the avatars don't tire, they get this sort of familiar environment where students would feel, oh, this is familiar. Here we can sit in a circle and discuss. So they have a lot of these visual cues. Although, as I said, you can can give it a touch, you can play with reality in a way, you know, because it's less limiting. So yeah, you can put a classroom right in the bottom of the ocean that you wouldn't be able to do in the physical world, but you can do it in the virtual world, so why not? So we do these sort of things, and it's very important. I think it's important for students, and it keeps them very motivated to have different scenarios where to learn. So we don't always sit on the same place for learning, and why should we? You know, when we have all this whole world to explore and have different scenarios and travel. Oh, thank you, Katie. Yeah, it's good fun. I tell you, I facilitate this, and the students love it as well. So, and it works really well. So facilitating immersion is one of the things that we took into account when designing the environment, but also to create this sense of place. And this sense of place is to have like you know, the bond that is created between a person and a place. And this, we know it happens, for example, if we've all been to, when you did your first degree at university, you had campus. For you, you have these special memories of being on campus, don't you? And it does have this sort of feeling of when you live there and go to the canteen with your friends. So we want our students to have a very similar experience, to have this bond to a place. They thinking, okay, this is the place where I come and I meet my peers and I learn. And the reason I mentioned before, the port, having a port was important for us, not only because Bristol has a port and we probably transferred our Bristolian port to our virtual world, but also because I think the metaphor is that people are welcome from all over the world. We have students, as I said, from all over the world, and they all come together in this environment, and they do things together. So we wanted a place where they can feel, yes, this is a place where all different cultures mingle and are welcome. So that's the idea of the port, and creating this sense of place, creating this idea that we have a bond to a place that I think if this place for whatever reason disappears from one day to the next, I would miss it, because for me it's the place where I work, it's my place, and I really go there very happy. And you know, if for whatever reason it wasn't there one day, I would miss it. So I think I have created, at least in myself, this sense of place, and I think a lot of my students feel like that as well. Places for academic support, and I've got a picture there of our library, and I've got a picture of the library because this I think is the place where actually they have all the academic support that students that come on campus, face-to-face students that are not distance learners, get exactly the same support. They actually have the facility to talk to a librarian 24/7 from here. You know, they can click on the screen and they can chat to a librarian. But if that's not enough, they can also chat to a bot, a robot, that artificial intelligence, that you would ask him any questions, for example, about mitigating circumstances, and would take you there. Also from this library, they have links to all the resources, all the materials that they will need to study for this MA, and obviously all of them are electronic materials. They can access, because obviously they're distance learners. They're not going to come to the physical library to get a book. They are all e-books, e-journals, articles. They can access that from here, but also they have links to all different study skills, research observatory, all sorts of links and academic support that they might need. They can access it from here, so they don't really need to go anywhere else if they don't want to. We also have a reception desk with all the information about the MA, links about the MA, so for visitors that come and want to find out a bit more about what we do, they can click on this reception bell we've got, and it moves. It's all very visual, And as I said, it's a pity that the pictures really don't represent it as well. So I really encourage you to come over and visit it. And another designing principle for us was social encounters. We strongly believe that learning emerges. Learning doesn't happen in a lecture theater. necessarily it happens, we are all the time learning, it happens anywhere in the world, and social encounters are a great opportunity for learning. So we have places where students, and also, as I said, they also create this sense of play. So students can get together. Here is the pub. So they can get together and have a drink in the pub and socialize. They're always talking about, you know, talking about the course and the things they do. It's quite good to have these possibilities to interact with their peers in a more social way. We actually do parties. We create parties. This one is a party that we had at the beach with the students from the University of Arkansas in the States. We joined them together, and it was they were interacting via the chat, using text chat, and the interactions were very rich. So it's very interesting to have. And we had also joint parties with the students in the University of Washington. They also do this certificate in virtual worlds, which is it's not similar, but well, the students are also interested in using these virtual worlds for other purposes, and we bring them together, and obviously it is very rich to get to know other students that have similar interests and have parties with them. We have another one planned for the 30th, I think it's the 30th of August or the 31st. Well, one of these 2 days on the 30th, I think, we have a party organized where we do a lot of that. We can dance in Second Life, your avatar dances, and you feel that. And this is very funny when this happens, when people are dancing, when I'm dancing in Second Life, I've got a smile on my face in the real life. So it's really, really a good experience, because we all have this choreography going on and the avatars are moving at the same time. And honestly, this creates actually a bond with people, with other people dancing with you, and it also makes you smile. So it is a very good experience, and it's something that we like doing a lot, dancing in the virtual worlds and having parties like this. And other sort of social activities like playing a football match, why not, or a soccer match. And what else to say? Obviously, to stimulate learning, it is important to have places where to learn. And the main idea when creating this environment was an environment where learning will happen, where learning will emerge. But our focus is on experiential learning and situated learning. It's pretty much learning by doing, and learning simulations, and learning in a way that is situated and that you can take and basically, yeah, we've got sandboxes where students can experiment, design their own things. We've got labs, you know, we have all sorts of different learning spaces where students can start creating their own activities. Things that we like to do in the virtual world is traveling. You can travel abroad, and you can do, you know, we've been together and it's funny, the sensation is quite amazing. We've been together to the pyramids. We've been together to Le Mont Saint-Michel. There on the right. The detail of Le Mont Saint-Michel is amazing. I've seen it in real life, and I've seen it in the virtual world, and it's just a really good replica of the real thing. So if you want to see, and you can also role play in there, it's just really a great space. We've been to Greek towns where you can practice your Greek language. You see, it's in the sign, it says I meet with a Greek language instructor every Friday from 4. So you have Greek lessons there if you want to. We've been to Stonehenge there on the right. So traveling abroad is one of the activities that we do, not just traveling abroad. Time traveling is also important, so we've visited the First World War, so we've traveled in time to the First World War, where you can role play. You see me, that's me there dressed as a nurse. You can have your dress, you can dress up either as a nurse or a soldier. It's an amazing thing, this one. This one is not ours. The things that I'm showing you now are things in Second Life. They don't belong to us, but that we can visit together with our students because they are open to the public and they have amazing simulations going on, so you can experience a little bit and learn much more about the First World War, for example, or Crystal Night on the left, where the Jews were attacked one night by the Nazis, and you can visit the museum, visit the town and what happened, and you can see the fires and all the papers flying and all how unpleasant it was. You can get that feeling, well, unpleasant, much worse than that, but you know, you get the feeling of the attack, of the aggression that was going on, and the fires. You can visit, we've visited as well Rome, historic Rome, and many places. You can also travel inside, and this is for people teaching sciences. It is very interesting because you can travel inside the body. So you can be inside the heart when there is a plaque attack, and you can see what goes on. You can be inside the testicle. So we've been in all these places, which is pretty amazing because that would never happen in the real world. One of our students designed this year, she created a huge eye, and you can see the eye inside. And I think these are things that are not possible in the physical world, but in the virtual world they are, and it's just amazing to be able to walk inside an eye and see, you know, what's the eye inside. So yeah. And the sort of things, all the things that we do apart from traveling is academic discussions and reflections. You can see even we can have PowerPoint presentations there like this one. We discuss a lot. We sit all around quite informally, if you can see, because some of us are sitting there like almost doing yoga, but some of us are laying down on the settee, but having these very amazing and academic discussions. And as I said, all the students are educators, so they have a lot, or most of them are, and the ones that aren't are equally academically eloquent, so they can have these amazing discussions going on. We also work with artificial agents and bots. We have a module on artificial intelligence as well, where we build our own print puppets, and we think of ways to increase their intelligence, with their responses and the pedagogical value of these bots, of these puppets. So it's just really. We have 8 modules. I'm talking about some of artificial intelligence is one of them, but we have 8 taught modules. We have scripting and building. We also have more pedagogical modules like designing curricula, where we talk a lot about learning theories and teaching methodologies and how they apply to the virtual world. We also have a course on philosophy in the metaverse, sociology as well. So the range of modules is quite rich. Some of them are a bit more technical, the other ones, but it's a master in education, so all of them are geared to education and how to use these environments for education. Learning a lot by doing, as I said before, so much of a student activity on the MA program is concerned with the design and the development of learning environments in a range of subject areas, and in particular, the scripting and building module assessment requires the students to design and build a learning environment of their choice in a 20 by 20 by 20 meters cube. So they have to create this environment in this particular, and we teach them how to do it, and they all come up with learning environments that are somehow amazing. One of the students this year designed a hairdresser, but he's so detail, and even the noise. You have the people talking in the background. The background noise is amazing, but also you go into the hairdressers, and it's just an unreal. It's like a real, authentic environment. And he reckons his students have problems with communication skills in these environments, and they feel, although they can be quite good at doing the hair, they have this. So he prompts in this hairdresser he's designed. He prompts them to do certain things, to communicate certain things. So it's just really an amazing place. Another one of the students created an environment, a learning environment to teach literature, and in particular one particular book called Night. That is, it was written by Elie Wiesel, and what he's designed is like a synagogue, if you want. This person, the writer of this book, is basically almost a journal, because he's a survivor of the Holocaust, and he lived in a concentration camp, and it's basically a journal of his path and his loss of faith in God. And the idea is that you go into this synagogue, but suddenly students can discuss the work. You hear the voice of the author, but then all of a sudden the floor opens, and you drop into these carts that would take you in traveling to Auschwitz, and you can see the images, and it's just a very amazing experience. That is actually a piece of art. So that was that's some of the work that the students do, but obviously, again, there's many other environments. Learning through role playing, and I talk about role playing before, is a particular affordance of virtual world environments, and you have role plays that are fantasy or medieval, and you have we've actually visited a prison in the virtual world, and we have talked to the role players, and we've been there as visitors. We have also taken them to a medieval role play. And students choose roles in a scenario that relates to any, relates to an environment, and then they have to make the decisions according to the role, and they have to play their role. And this is very interesting for education. And they tend to get into, we have another module that is role plays and simulations, and the students get very easily into the spirit of the play. This is I've put a quote from one of the students of what he thought the role play was like. Oh. RL stands for real life. So, what other things to say? Learning through playing games, through playing and through games, and this is, well, we had a Halloween party, and anyway, gaming and playing is very well suited to this sort of environment. As an example, there was a treasure hunt on Halloween that we treasure hunt game, and we went into a haunted house and need to find clues, and anyway, we all dressed up for Halloween, and it was just a very good experience again. Simulations is another way, and they are proven to be a very powerful tool in a number of subject areas. And for example, at the University of the West of England, we have quite a few simulations going on at the moment. One example is an explosion accident that you can see there. There is an accident that happened, students witnessed part of it, and the other students have to investigate the accident. So we have all the simulations going on. I think possibly, because I can see it's only 1 minute left. I'm not sure, so I'm gonna rush it just in case. It's just if somebody writes yes, do I only have 1 minute left? Barbara, yes, okay. So I'm gonna rush the whole thing. What can I say? To conclude, that the sort of things that we do. I wanted to talk about group dynamics and all sorts, but obviously I ran out of time. But it is a place for learning. It is a place for learning in a different way. It opens people's creativity and imagination, and it's just I will take any question if you've got any question to ask me. If not, please contact me. I'm gonna type my email address, and I will give you a trip, and I can talk a little bit more extensively about what we do and our simulations. I can show them to you. I hope this was of interest to any of you, and please let me know if you have any questions. Well, it depends on the environment. They take, well, we have several islands. We've been working in this environment for years. Our students create a cube, I told you, a learning environment in a cube of 20 by 20 by 20 meters, and that takes 12 weeks in that module of scripting and building. Obviously, the result depends on how many hours they put into it and how, but yeah, it takes to learn, as I said, 12 weeks. They get on their module of scripting and learning. 12 weeks, 3 hours a week tutorials, but then obviously they put a lot of time into it of their own time. Okay, great. We use the environment is created in Second Life, and Second Life has their own building tools. It's very simple. It's not very. You don't need to be technically quite. I can build, and I'm not technically quite. I am more into the pedagogical side of things, but it's fairly easy. You have a menu on how to build things. You reset print, and you start making giving shape to it. But yeah, as I said, we've got the module on building. It's a 12-week module. Yes, the program, yes, it's a master postgraduate program, and it's accredited by a British university. The normal price is a year is £6,000, which I guess, well, I'm not sure how much that is in dollars. I actually can tell you, at the moment we're running a 40% discount, early bird discount, until the end of August. And the 40% discount means the whole master, all the modules is $3,400, which is about $6,000 American dollars. But it is a very flexible program. The whole master, this includes a dissertation and everything. So it's 8 modules plus a dissertation or a project. However, you can choose to do only individual modules and not to do the whole master, or you can choose to do a certificate or a diploma. If you choose to do a certificate, you have to do 4 modules, 8 modules for the diploma. So there are different possibilities. It's quite flexible. Or you can just choose a CPD, individual modules, and they will cost you, at the moment, as I said, with the discount, each module is £300. Sorry. With the £300 is the module with assessment, or without assessment is half, so 150 without the assessment, because again, Second Life is free. You can download this for free. You can use it for free. The only thing that is not free is land. Our students don't have to pay for this because we provide the land and we pay for our land. But yeah, it's free to use. You download it free from the internet. So yeah, it's just the cost of the course for our students. Any more questions?
Very nice, Marie. I've actually used Second Life before with other teachers and other classrooms across the state. It is really, really interesting.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks a lot for all of you for attending. And thank you, Barbara.
No problem. Thank you.
Thanks very much.
Anybody else has any other questions?
You can, if you have questions later on, you can still email me. If you have my email there in the chat room, or I can write it down. I don't know if I think I did already, but there you go.
Yes, you did.
Well, thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of the conference. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Marie. I just wanted to mention to everybody that this particular session, the recording of this session will be available the next day, and will stay online through next July when the conference starts again. The CPE record of attendance for recorded sessions is a little bit different. You'll have to fill out a form for that, but it will be automatically generated for the live sessions and anybody that registered for the conference. If there are no other questions, I'm going to stop the recording. Thank you to Angela. Her hands have been going a mile a minute.